Welcome back to Sunday Report. I'm Jon Glasgow. The New York Times is reporting Meta, Facebook and Instagram's company, is now blocking some news on the social media platform in Canada. It's all over a new law in a country that requires tech companies to pay news outlets for using their content. So let's bring in our Canadian expert, Michael Charbon, host of the Charbon Report. This is really interesting. I was surprised to see this is happening up in Canada. What does it mean, though? What was your initial reaction when this came out?
Well, basically, C-18 eliminates Canadians the ability to view news feeds on Facebook, Google, and many other platforms. And what it does is it eliminates people who use these large sites to get eyeballs, increase views, and to promote their stuff. They can't do it because it's been taken off. Big tech makes a lot of money selling advertising, and this misguided Canadian legislation is trying to make them pay for it. Now, with Canada's close proximity to our friends and neighbors to the south, you can imagine this would open up a whole kettle of worms. And Pierre Poilievre, the Conservative leader here in Canada, says this is an epic mistake, and this is something that's really going to put Canadians in a dark scenario. So it's basically a game of chicken, John, between these large sites and the Canadian government, and it's not going to turn out well for Canadians.
Well, we know that so many people use social media, and a lot of them are getting their news from there. Does this now mean that Canadians are missing out on some vital news because of this new act?
Absolutely, they are. I mean, this legislation was built on something that passed in Australia in 2021. But the difference between Australia and Canada is smaller. In Australia, they could negotiate with independent journalists, where in Canada, they've got to negotiate with outlets. And basically, big tech here in Canada is saying, we're not going to pay. It's not going to happen. So we're going to eliminate any news feeds on this. And they've made a statement percentage-wise that the news feed aspect of their business is smaller. But for a lot of Canadians and small news organizations who rely on these big platforms to be able to promote their website and their stuff is not happening. So we're at a default here. And if you play chicken with big tech, particularly from a government's perspective, I don't think it's going to turn out well for Canadians.
Yeah, it seems to be all about the dollars and cents. I want to get to this tragic story that's out of Canada. Former Toronto District School Board principal took his own life over diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's being reported that the principal legally went after the district over facing harassment for calling out an anti-racism instructor. The DEI instructor said that Canada is more racist than the United States. The principal denied that claim. She even reportedly held up this beloved principal as an example of white supremacy resistance. This is an awful story. It's tragic, but how are people reacting in Canada over this?
There's many people who are reacting, but there's only, certain newspapers print more about it and continue the story. This was a 60-year-old teacher and basically was forced to take this, and he's become a victim of this diversity and inclusive training. He was told that some of the things that he had purported, he had objected to the lottery system to get into the arts and get into athletics, and instead of based on merit. And he was accused. Now, none of these accusations have been proved in court.
Michael, I got to let you go. I'm sorry. We're running out of time. I'm getting the wrap here in the air from my producer. I'm sorry. We'll get to you next week. Appreciate you coming on. That was Michael Charbon, the host of the Charbon Report.